The hardest thing a father can do is realize he's become an option in his own child's life. For years, I believed my job was to build a foundation so solid nothing could shake it. I never imagined my family would trade that foundation for someone else's penthouse. It took a freezing Christmas Eve and a live television broadcast to teach me that respect isn't something you beg for. It's something you walk away to find. Welcome to Dad's Pure Revenge. If you've ever given your absolute best to the people you love, only to watch them take you for granted the moment someone wealthier came along, you know exactly how it feels to have your chest hollowed out. Before I tell you what happened on that single night that changed everything for my daughter and me, hit subscribe, drop a like, and tell me where you're watching from. I read every comment and it keeps this channel going. My name is Paul Logan. I'm 52 and I run a small drywall and framing business in our county. I've spent my life working 12-hour days, coming home with gypsum dust in my hair and calluses on my palms. My honest flaw is that I've always tried to buy peace. When my ex-wife Beverly left me 5 years ago for a man named Clinton Webb, a senior partner at a regional investment firm with a tailored charcoal suit and a voice that made you feel audited, I didn't fight. I let her take most of our assets. I just wanted our daughter Emily to be happy. So I kept quiet, worked harder, and kept paying her college tuition while Clinton bought her a Jeep and flew her to Cabo. I thought keeping the peace was the same as having peace. I was wrong. I was just funding my own eraser. To understand what happened, you first need to understand Thomas Miller. Thomas lives down on South Maple Street in a faded yellow house with a wraparound porch. He's 72, a retired county road worker with hands like gnarled oak roots from arthritis. Every day he runs a volunteer program out of an old warehouse called the Maplewood Community Wood Bank, splitting fallen timber by hand and delivering it to elderly folks who heat their homes with wood stoves. He cooks a pot of beef stew every Tuesday for anyone who needs a warm meal, and he never asks for a dime. He drives a rusted Chevy S10 and wears a canvas coat with duct tape on the sleeve. He is the kind of man who shows up when the world is at its coldest. The call that started everything came on a Tuesday afternoon, December 18th, while I sat in my truck waiting on a lumber delivery. Emily's face lit up my phone. "Hey, kiddo," I said. I picked up that smoked ham you like, ready for Christmas Eve. There was a long pause, just windshield wipers scraping in the background. "Dad," she said, her voice flat, "about Christmas Eve. I think we need to change the plans." "Change them how? We always do the ham on Christmas Eve, just you and me, then your mom's on Christmas Day. We've done it that way since the divorce." "I know, but Clinton bought tickets for all of us to the winter gala at the country club. His kids are flying in from Chicago. He's really trying to bring everyone together. It would just be awkward if you came, or if I had to split my time and leave early." I told her I'd already bought the food, already taken 3 days off, hadn't seen her since October. She sighed like I was the inconvenience. "It's just one holiday, Dad. Clinton went out of his way to arrange all this. Figure it out." The line went dead. She didn't say goodbye, she just hung up. I sat there 4 full minutes, watching the gray sky through the windshield, feeling the cold seep in through the glass. Understanding for the first time that I was completely disposable to the people I'd built my life around. If that feeling is familiar to you, hit that like button. It helps these stories reach other fathers sitting in their own trucks right now, feeling the exact same thing. The next evening I couldn't stand my empty house, so I loaded chainsaws and splitting mauls into my truck bed and drove to the wood bank. Snow was just starting to swirl under the sodium lights when I found Thomas out front, lifting rounds of green ash, leaning hard on his bad leg. "Cold gets into the marrow," he said, wiping his brow. "Mrs. Gable's down to her last 3 logs, and there's a real monster coming in tomorrow night." I didn't say anything. I just took the wood out of his hands and got to work. We didn't talk for 2 hours. When we finally stopped, he handed me burnt coffee from a battered thermos and studied me for a long moment. "You look like a man who's been evicted from his own mind. Emily called. I'm not needed for Christmas. Clinton bought her a new life and my invitation got lost in the mail. She told me to figure it out." Thomas didn't offer cheap comfort. He just looked at his own ruined hands. "A man goes where he's needed, Paul, not where he's tolerated. When my boy passed 20 years ago, I thought the world was done with me. Then I looked around and saw how many people were freezing in the dark. If your family doesn't want your time, I know 40 elderly folks in this valley who pray for it every night. Something shifted in me right there. Not anger, just the quiet closing of a heavy door. I'd spent 5 years trying to fit into the margins of a life where I wasn't wanted. What time do we start tomorrow? 6 a.m. Bring the heavy chains. The blizzard hit exactly on schedule, but worse than anyone predicted. By Friday, 2 feet of snow and a coat of ice had taken down power lines across 80% of the county. Winds howled at 40 miles an hour. Temperatures fell to 4 degrees above zero. I left my phone on the counter and didn't look back. Thomas and I became a two-man rescue crew. My F-250 had a steel plow and studded tires, so we cleared the driveway at the St. Jude's Senior Care Center after their generator failed, running extension cords through the kitchen window to keep 50 residents from freezing. We cleared a fallen tree off Route 9 so an ambulance could reach a woman in labor. We delivered dry oak to a dozen families huddled around fireplaces with no other heat, running on cold ham sandwiches and Thomas's terrible coffee. By 11:30 on Christmas Eve, a Channel 4 News van chasing the story got stuck in a drift at Maplewood and 10th. We pulled them out with a tow strap like it was nothing. A young reporter named Brenda Reynolds ran up to my window, cameraman right behind her, red light glowing against the falling snow. "We're live on Channel 4. I'm standing with 2 local residents who have spent 2 days single-handedly clearing roads and rescuing stranded citizens while county infrastructure is crippled. Sir, what's your name and what drives you to be out here on Christmas Eve?" I rolled the window down. The cold hit my face, honest and clean. "My name is Paul Logan. This is Thomas Miller. We're out here because there are people who need us. A man's supposed to go where he's needed. When the world gets cold, you don't stay inside looking after yourself. You show up for the people who have nobody else." She told me the emergency broadcast center had just reported we'd saved the St. Jude facility, that 50 seniors would have been evacuated into sub-zero temperatures without us. Then she asked, "Do you have family waiting at home for you?" I let out a breath that turned to mist. My family made other plans for the holidays. They had a dinner to attend, so I had some free time. Merry Christmas, stay warm. I rolled the window up and dropped the plow. We had 3 more houses before midnight. We got back to the warehouse just after midnight. Thomas shook my hand, his grip strong despite the arthritis. "You did good work, Paul. Go home and sleep." My kitchen was freezing when I walked in at 12:45, but the power had just flickered back on. I picked up my phone. 38 missed calls, 24 from Emily. 12 from Beverly, 2 from a number I'd later realize was Clinton's cell. Before I could open a single message, the phone rang again. "Emily. Dad, oh my God, are you okay? Where are you?" "In my kitchen, just got in." "Why are you on the news?" Her voice was shaking, nothing like the flat, annoyed tone from Tuesday. I could hear shouting behind her, Beverly's voice, Clinton's uncharacteristically loud. "The power just came back and Clinton turned on the TV. You were right there. They called you the Christmas Eve Guardian. The governor's office thanked you and Thomas by name. Dad, you told the reporter your family made other plans. You said we didn't need you. Do you know how that made us look? Clinton's phone hasn't stopped ringing. People from the club are saying it looks like we abandoned you to freeze." I looked out at the snow drifting against my fence, and the realization landed clean and sharp. She wasn't scared for my safety. She was scared about the optics. "I didn't say you abandoned me, Emily. I told the truth. You told me not to come because Clinton's family was there and you wanted him to feel like family. You told me to figure it out, so I figured it out. You didn't have to say it on television. Clinton spent thousands on that dinner, and now everyone's saying his family left you out in the storm. Mom's crying because her friends are texting her. Then tell them the truth. Tell them you chose to spend your time with the man who bought you a Jeep, and I chose to spend mine with people who needed their heat back on. There's no lie in that. Dad, please." For the first time, I heard something real crack through, regret or maybe fear. Clinton's generator failed 2 hours into the storm. The pipes burst. The whole lower levels flooded and freezing. We've been huddled around a gas fireplace all night. Can you bring one of your generators? Maybe the plow. The driveway's blocked and we can't get the Jeep out. 5 years ago, even 2 weeks ago, I would have been in my truck before she finished the sentence, driving through the drifts trying to earn one more crumb of her approval. But that man had died out on Route 9, lifting an 80-pound log out of an ambulance's path. No, Emily, I can't do that. What? Why? We're freezing here and you have the equipment right there. My equipment belongs to the wood bank tonight, and Clinton's a wealthy man, senior partner, pristine BMW. I'm sure he'll figure it out. That's what you told me to do, right? How can you be so cruel? It's Christmas. It is Christmas, and I spent mine making sure 50 elderly people didn't freeze to death. I went where I was needed. I'm not needed at Clinton's house. I'm only convenient there when the power goes out. It took me 52 years to learn the difference. Clinton's your family now, Emily. You spent 3 years making sure he felt like it. Let him take care of you. I'm going to bed. I hung up, turned the phone face down, and walked to my room. The sun came up bright and blinding the next morning, the sky scrubbed clean by the storm. I made a real pot of coffee and sat by the window. There were more texts, Beverly calling me selfish, Emily rambling through half an apology that still somehow defended why she'd stayed at Clinton's. I didn't answer any of them. I didn't feel triumphant. I just felt a deep, clean quiet, like a house after everyone's finally gone home. Around 10, I drove down to South Maple Street with a plate of that smoked ham from the butcher in Bremen. Thomas was out on his porch in an old folding chair, a wool blanket over his lap, watching the sun hit the snow. "Thought you might want some breakfast," I said, setting the plate beside him. He looked at the ham, then up at me, eyes crinkling. "The Christmas Eve Guardian brings ham. Must be doing something right. Don't start." We sat there a long time, not saying much, just watching smoke rise from a chimney down the block. And I understood something I hadn't let myself understand in 5 years. A man's worth isn't measured by the titles he's given or the bloodlines he defends. It's measured by his willingness to stand in the cold when everyone else is running for the fire. I'd lost a daughter who only wanted me when the lights went out. But I'd found an entire town that knew exactly who I was when the world was at its darkest. And for the first time in 5 years, that was more than enough. Thank you for listening to my story on Dad's Pure Revenge. It means the world to have a community of fathers who understand what it costs to stand your ground even when it hurts. If this reminded you of a time you had to learn your own worth, or walk away from people who only treated you as an option, leave a comment and share your story. Like this video, subscribe for the next one, and remember, stay strong, stay honest, and go where you are needed. Merry Christmas, and take care of yourselves out there.